Imagine, if you can, an America where the people are divided politically, where the citizens are simmering with anger and ready to burst, where neighbors hate each other to the point of violence. It's hard to fathom, isn't it? Well, that fictitious America is exactly what Alex Garland has imagined in his newest film. And now I'm going to examine this hard-to-imagine concept in my spoiler-free review of Civil War. Lee is an experienced photojournalist worn down and embittered by America's merciless Second Civil War. Along with her partner Joel and fellow journalist Sammy, she plans to journey beyond the front lines to document the president himself at the heart of the battle in Washington, D.C. This plan becomes complicated when Jesse, a very young aspiring war photographer, tags along on their dangerous endeavor. Now, the unlikely foursome must carefully tread through increasingly threatening conditions in an effort to do what no one else is willing to do: tell the story. Civil War drops you right into this lived-in, war-torn United States. There's no exposition, no explanation. We're just immediately placed in the middle of the action. It reminded me of District 9, which starts a story 20 years after aliens became stranded in South Africa. All the characters just live as if it's nothing new, but to us as an audience, it's fascinating and fresh. Why does this technique work in Civil War? Because unfortunately, a lot of it seems too familiar and far too plausible. We see images paralleling what we see right now in other countries: suicide bombers, gas-soaked captives being set afire, night skies lit up by artillery. But instead of foreign landmarks and different cultures, it's American towns and citizens. It's actually as horrifying as it is fascinating to watch. And they don't focus on just huge American iconic locations like Independence Day. You don't see the Empire State Building or Golden Gate Bridge blowing up. You just follow the characters through small, lower middle-class towns like you would see in West Virginia and Virginia. Instead of fighting their way out of the Space Needle, they must survive the corner gas station with armed guards or the Christmas tree farm with an unknown danger. When they sleep for the night, it's in an abandoned football stadium because in this world, there's no time for fun and sports. By utilizing these more humble locations, the threat of war doesn't feel distant or exotic. It feels like it could just as easily be your neighborhood that is burning from the constant battles. But it does eventually make it to some big cities with big action. The casting of Civil War is a stroke of genius. The one character you recognize is Kirsten Dunst as a famous journalist. And since we are so familiar with her previous work in movies like Spider-Man, it's as if we recognize this pseudo-celebrity news person. Our subconscious can even almost picture a younger, more passionate version of her doing this dangerous job. But the version we see is callous and insensitive.
Whoa. I'm not being protective of her? You're the idiot who let her in this car.
But to me, the standout in a star-making role is Cailee Spaeny as Jessie, who starred in last year's Priscilla, but I didn't even recognize her. She looks as if she's 13, but her voice and demeanor reveal that she's in her early 20s. Her role and performance reminded me of Martin Sheen in Apocalypse Now on his journey to find Colonel Kurtz. Like him, Jessie is the proxy for us as the audience. So as she experiences the tragedy of war for the first time, we empathize with her varying emotions. It's difficult for me to express how brilliant her casting is and just how good she is in this role. Now, the aspect I respect most about Civil War, I think, is what most people will criticize about the movie. It's not political. It does not take sides. We really don't even understand what caused the war, and the filmmakers did a couple ingenious things to avoid politics. First, the rebels are called the Western Forces, and they are led by California and Texas, which we know in our world cannot differ more when it comes to politics. So by combining these two polar opposites, we can't assume any affiliation. Secondly, the film uses very precise language. For instance, the first major instance in the war was the Antifa massacre. Note how that's phrased. We don't know if Antifa was being massacred or doing the massacre. Once again, blurring any political rights or wrongs. It's pretty clever. Now, viewers will certainly project onto characters what they want. When they see the president, they will imagine him as someone specific. When they see soldiers, they will assume according to their own presuppositions. But the movie never indicates any of that for you. And as a result, I think audiences from both sides of the political spectrum will imagine the good guys as their political party. Now, I think critics of the film will probably wish the movie committed to a side and agenda, but I think the filmmakers are doing exactly what our lead characters are doing. They're not casting judgment, they're just telling the story. Man, there is so much more to dive into with this movie, and I have so many notes that I haven't even included in this review, but I think rather than have me tell you, you should watch it for yourself. But beware, because it is viscerally violent, as you would expect, and it has a ton of bad, I'll call it, war language. For my rating, I think this movie is the fourth really original film by a fascinating director. And just a day after seeing it, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars, which has the potential to go up to 4.5. But I will say, in a movie that never feels Hollywood, there is one major plot point that I felt a tad cliche. So I doubt it will ever reach perfect status in my book. What do you think? Comment below. If you enjoyed this review, do me a solid and like this video, subscribe to this channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss any of my future reviews. Also, check out my previous reviews by clicking one of these boxes.